Okay, all right. So we are at the last chapter of Derech HaShem, Ha'avoda Hamikris V'Abrachis, which means, well, he calls it circumstantial, but Mikris means like occasional avoda and brachis. So right away we had a question: why is what's brachis doing here? Why is that? Either if it's part of avoda mikris, so let it be just included. But right, why is the brachis as its own thing? Okay, so let's see. So again, this is just a reminder that this is part of our general, kind of progression from constant mitzvahs, right, daily mitzvahs, seasonal mitzvahs, and these occasional mitzvahs. Okay, so the services that we do on occasion, they are as occur to people in all the days of their lives, in accordance with their state in this world, with their food, okay, with their clothing, in all of their human physical needs, in all of their involvements in society, right, medina, right? So in other words, you don't see much of Baba Kama, Baba Mitzia, and Baba Basra in Derech HaShem, right? It's mostly religious work, because really that's part of avodah, right? That's part of the avodah hamikri is to do the right thing according to the law of mishpatim, right? When the time arises, okay? Uklal kulan. So what's the general idea of all of these avodas? Noisad is founded al mashu be'anu b'chalot ma'kodim, that what we explained in the previous section, v'hu she'ein lecha inyan b'chol inyonei ha'olam, that there is nothing in any aspect of the world, choik, whether it's a law or a mikra, whether it's just a circumstance, be'ezin nimtzim min ha'mitzoyos, in whatever exists in the world, shloi husag v'huchak, that is not founded and is not set, that it should be found in the creation, which with the general purpose, the true general purpose of Shalabriya, of the creation, that's it, right? So everything that exists, in other words, simply put, everything that exists for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to bring the human being and the creation to shleimus, to perfection, right? So everything that exists, and since he said before, and he's going to speak this out. I'm just speaking it out now. But he said before that since there are so many different fine-tuning elements that a person needs to perfect, so therefore it required so many different creations and so many different particulars to exist that a person has to fix, right? So that's the idea here. The idea here that all of these circumstantial avodas, services that a person has to do, is all nageya each individual finer points that need to be adjusted and perfected. Okay, in order to achieve this goal, the true goal, the true purpose of creation, it was necessary to create all of these details, with the boundaries that they were truly bounded. Meaning, when you do the right thing and you don't do the wrong thing. In other words, you do you carry out a certain action within its properly defined bounds. So then you are doing the right thing, and therefore you're perfecting the world. Amnam. All of the necessary details, in their forms, are divided really in the divisions of creation, and their levels, and also their influences, in accordance with their species. Okay, and all the different levels that we mentioned above. Meaning, I think what he's saying in this line, right, is is that Hashem created many different, I don't know how to say it, many different things, not just things, many different types of actions in the world, right? And some actions, so there's first of all just a hierarchy, meaning some actions by their nature are going to be holier than other actions, right? So even though, meaning obviously the study of Torah is a holier action than eating food, right? But we understand that eating food makes me live in order to avoid that, right? So therefore it's also part of the plan, right? So that's just in terms of a hierarchy. But besides hierarchy, because he puts over here, right, an interesting phrase he added over here, which is the hashpois alehen, and their influences that are above them, right? And I see that Derech HaShem translates influences with the capital I, right? In other words, he's saying spiritual influences, right? Spiritual influences. So I think he's hinting, even though he's talking generally, right? He's talking generally for the general public, right? For you, me, and everybody else, right? Who, for us, we are big tzaddikim if we could say, the reason why I'm eating is in order to avoid the Hashem, and we consider ourselves very big tzaddikim, right? But as somebody on a higher level can specifically understand what, where in the big scheme of things, under which influence this particular action falls, and so he doesn't just generally uplift this action with the general idea that this is also for Hashem. He can uplift it in a much more specific way into understanding why this is for Hashem and where in the map of creation this thing exists, right? So there's a lower level, like for us, which for us is considered really higher level, but then there's really the higher level, where you can understand how each individual thing is uplifted in that particular, connecting it to that particular influence which relates to it. Okay? All right. So in all of these particulars, we were commanded mitzvahs, commandments, to fulfill in order to transform or to establish these things on the side of good, and not on the side of evil. When you make sure to guard each action within their prescribed boundaries, then you're going to keep them within the good. And whatever consequences that will arise from those actions will also be good, and they will be fixing the world. Right? So again, just to make sure we understand this basic point. This basic point is that there is, according to, this is maybe what makes Judaism different, maybe not, I'm not sure. Maybe there are other religions like that, but the point is that there is no, at least in the Christian world, there's my life. Okay, and on Sunday I go to church to do my religious thing, right? And my life is really, it's all ugly. Priests, they are much more higher level. So their religious life spills more into their regular ugly life. For a regular person, it's all ugly life. And once a week, I go to church, confess my ugliness, and that's it. But so my religious experience is a once a week kind of thing, or maybe before bedtime, when I say my whatever, right? By us, that's not exactly like that. Well, not at all like that. Not even close like that, right? Every single second, there's no such thing as a second without a religious experience. Every second is a religious experience. Every moment I do, every movement that I make, everything can either be left out without any sort of thought or any idea or any what he calls gvulim, or any appropriate bounds, or it could be elevated into something that is holy and into avodas Hashem. Right? So there's no such thing as a religious experience for a Jew, really. There's life and religion is one and the same. It's not like two separate activities. again, that's at least how that's in an ideal world. Obviously, for us, when we're at work, we're at work. When we go to shul daven, okay, that's our religious. Obviously, it's very hard to live a kind of life where you realize that every second of your life is a potentially religious experience, and there's really not so much difference between going to shul and davening and going to work and working. Both are connecting you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu if you know what you're doing, right? Okay, so moving on. Good. Right, and a person that does not make sure, does not guard, does not protect that his actions fit within those bounds, and those actions will remain on the side of evil. Right? Remain, meaning that he didn't make them into the side of evil. They're going to remain on the side of evil, right? Because like you said, by definition, every physical action that we do, it's already really on a lower level. You could uplift it by fitting those physical things within the boundaries that Hashem told you to fit them into. Then you're transforming those very not kind of holy things into something holy. But if you don't, then you just those things remain l'tzad hara. And not only that through those things that were not corrected, the Tuma and the Azuma continues to expand. And the extension of darkness will limit the great enlightenment. And the hiddenness of the world will increase. And all of the consequences, negative ones that we mentioned. All in accordance with the nature of that kind of existence, of that thing, of that action, that was not guarded, was not watched, was not conducted within the prescribed boundaries. And also in relationship that it has to a person, right? I mean, some things will probably hit deeper to a person, some things will be more superficial, so therefore that will also make a difference. And also what role it plays in the general kind of makeup of the world. That how important of a role does it play in the progress of getting the world towards perfection. Okay, so meaning right, so a person could really do the same aveira, so to speak. A person could lie. Let's say a person is selling a house and he lies about it, and is afraid to tell the truth, right? So depending on what level person that is, the consequences of that action will also be more significant. But also, if it's something else, if he's selling, let's say he's selling, I don't know, maybe that's the right, I don't know if that's the right example, but let's say he's selling tefillin, right? And he lies about the nature of the parchments in the tefillin, right? So so to speak, the Derech HaShem, right? Because it's the damage with that avera will be much more significant than the damage of, he didn't mention the plumbing of the problem in the house, because like what's going on here, right? So that's what he's saying. He's saying so it's not. It could be you could have the same avera, but in a different context, it becomes a different kind of an avera, and therefore the consequences are going to be more significant. Again, that's just the example that I have right now, but probably could be a better one. Okay. All right, so that's Aleph, right? Okay, so from Aleph we learned again that the Mikriyos, these, right, they're meaning. So now we see like this. So we see that they're constant avoiders. Really, so if I ask you, what's the bulk of the work? The bulk of the work of perfecting the human being. So I said, really, it's the constant ones. The constant ones is what we really need as all humans. As all humans, we have to work on this common mission of daily avodah, right? Mikriyos is really, that's our individual thing. This we need, this guy needs a tikkun in this, so he gets, this is his mikra. This guy needs a tikkun in this, so he gets these nisyonis, right? So that's more like a fine tuning on one hand. On the other hand, the fine tuning is really where I come through. I shine through my fine, my unique individual fine moments, not in the same Shemon Esrei that perhaps everybody else. I mean, of course, not true, because we don't really daven in the same Shemon Esrei. We may say the same words, but it's not. Everybody's Shemon Esrei is individual. But you know what I mean. I'm saying these avodos hamikriyos is what really get me to become who I am. So they're kind of more essential to my being. On the other hand, we understand that the bulk of the avodah is from the constant mitzvahs and not from these occasional mitzvahs. Okay, moving on. So base. So now he's going to explain to us where brachas come into this equation. So before we start brachas, 1 second. So if I ask you, how would you explain brachas? What would you say? How would you say brachas? What's brachas in general? What role do brachas play in Judaism? What would you say?
Dedicating certain activity to a higher purpose. This is designation.
Okay.
Basically, like, why? You got permission to use it.
Right? That's what Gemara Bracha says, right? Also, that you're not allowed to partake of this world without a bracha. So it's like taking permission of eating this food.
Yeah, changing stuff without acquiring it. Yeah, pretty much that.
Okay, very good. So let's see. So in accordance to this, in this way, is established the idea of bracha. That our sages were mesaken upon all of the aspects of the world, and the benefits. And the source of all of these brachos is Birkas Hamazon, his blessing after meal, because that one we were commanded in the Torah. Good. And the idea is like the follows. We already explained all of the things that are found and that were set, that were, how does this translate over here? It doesn't. Okay. So they were engraved. It's the literal translation of Chakukim is engraved b'teva into nature. Hinehem kulam protim mechuvonim al tachlis hakloli. All of the details exist for the general tachlis, for the general purpose, right? Shehu, which is what? Hagia hamitzius kuloi el hashlemus, to bring the entire creation to perfection. Okay. I don't know why, but that line bothers me. I mean, I know why it bothers me, but it gets so. What's the primary goal of creation? To bring the creation to perfection, or to bring the human being to perfection? Meaning, I understand that you could say that all of creation is subordinate to Adam, right? And the purpose of really is to bring Adam to perfection. But you can't, have one without the other, right? You have to bring the world to perfection in order to bring the Adam to perfection, right? Or you could say the other way around. No, really, the whole world is to bring the world to creation, and Adam was given an opportunity to carry that out, and as a result. But that doesn't make sense to me. Like, what's the world without an Adam? Right? What's the purpose of a world without an Adam? So in other words, so what is the point of him stressing the purpose of creation is to bring the world to perfection in particular, as opposed to the Adam, like before. I mean, in the previous section, to me, the focus seemed more like even though he was talking about Olam, I'm not sure. I read. I mean, that's how I read it. I read it into the first section. Now that I look at it, I don't see it there either. Right, but that's certainly how he set it up originally. If you look back at see here. I'm not sure if I forget where that line is, but it's clearly remember that the previous sections, the focus was more in perfecting the different aspects of the human being.
Right, and everything around is just a token.
Right. I remember if that was Nashgocha, or if that was in the first section of the fundamentals. I don't remember right now. I was sure it was on fundamentals, but now I don't see that specific line that I'm looking for. So let's leave it. In any case, over here the focus is on the Mitzias Kulei Lashlemus, right? V'chelkom b'dover hazeh, and each thing plays a role in this. Kifi Madrega asher heim bo, in accordance with the level that it has in the creation, b'amitas mitziusim, in the true role of this thing. Okay. V'ulam ha'odam hanimshach achar chukos tivoy. However, a person that is pulled after the nature of his nature, right, the laws of his nature, upoil pu'ulas kifima shehuchakloi, and he acts in accordance with the nature that was given to him. Yesh liskavein tomid la'avodas boirei. He has to have constant kavana to serve Hashem. Right? And that the outcome of everything that he does should help, should support this role, this goal of bringing the world to its perfection. In whatever way that it has. In the order that was truly ordained. I'm not sure why he speaks this out in such a long roundabout way, but that's basically what he's saying. He's saying what you were saying, that a person has to have his final goal always on his mind. A person has to have his final goal always on his mind. The purpose, right? The purpose should always be on a person's mind. And the purpose should always be on a person's mind. Good? Pirush. Meaning, that there are certain things that instantly bring you to that perfection, right? When you daven, when you learn, right? But there are those things that are step removed. They serve those aspects that serve those aspects that bring you to, right? So, whatever the case may be. I mean, obviously. So the leather that you're going to shech the cow, you're going to get the leather, you're going to use that leather for the Sefer Torah, right? That's one step removed. If you're feeding the grass to the cow that you're going to use for the Sefer Torah, that's two steps removed, right? So good. Achar Gilgul Godel. I'm sorry. Achar Gilgul Godel Shalinyanim Rabim Yishochim Achar Zeh Yagiyu Elov. And then there are other things that after many Gilgul, right? Many such rotations will get to the final purpose. Whatever level they possess, it's proper that they should not be utilized except with that intention, right? So even if they're a million steps removed from the final goal, a person's job is to take that thing and have in mind that final goal, right? So I'm working at work. I'm programming the program. The program is going to be used whatever, and that is going to be used for that. And Memela, my company is going to make money. Memela, I'm going to make money, and I'm going to be able to support my family, and then I'm going to support, right, etc. So there may be 20,000 steps until my final goal. But my kavanah at each and every step should be for that end result. Right, so Hine is, and he's stressing the negative, like from the brachas, as we'll see. They should not be taken except for this kavanah. It's almost like he stresses like there's an isser to do it without having the intention for its final goal. Even whatever comes, even of 10 levels, as a support for reaching the true purpose. And it should not be for any other kavanah, right? It's another, like he's also stressing, like there isn't even a problem. I'm like, right, so let's say I need a vacation. Why do I need a vacation? Right? Why do you need a vacation? What do you mean? I want to chill. No, not good. Why do I need a vacation? I need a vacation because if I have a vacation, then I can come back and I can be more at peace with myself. I can be more spiritual and more whatever, right? But I also want to just chill. You're right. Of course, if you ask me why I'm going to vacation, is because I wanna be more rested so I can do avodas Hashem. But I also kind of like the chill. So he seems to be stressing, no, v'loy lekavana acheres. It has to be for the pure kavana and not for any other kavana. The hainu, which is what? What's the other kavana? Kavana satayvos, kavana of enjoyment, sense experience, just physical enjoyment. Vanitiya hachomris, and the general physical nitiya leaning el hamoy soros, towards extravagance or towards extras. Superfluous. Okay. And you have to guard all of these things within the boundaries that the Torah designed for them. The Torah halakis, Hashem's Torah. So then, really, everything that a person encounters becomes as a help towards this ultimate goal. And they will all be considered as parts of, as conditions, as elements of avodah. Right? So, okay, I mean, this is on our level, this seems to be, a little bit tough to do it on really the madrega that he wants us to do it on. So the Torah told us that after we are been satisfied with food and drink, that we should thank Hashem and bless His name. Right? Good?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what's the problem with that line? Just a technical problem with that line.
Have to.
All right. So this is talking about, right? He just told us talking about brachas in general. Mm-hmm. He's said that the shoirish for all brachas is birchas hamazon. Mm-hmm. So now he's going back to that shoirish. That, right? I just explained to you the whole idea of avodas Hashem on all the things that are physical, right? And so the source of this is this. The Torah taught us that after we benefit from our food and from our drink, we should thank Him and bless His name, right? So we bless after what? Food and drink?
Yeah.
Midaraisa? What?
No, I mean the midaraisa is only the Hamazon.
Right. So it's not. So it's really not true. I mean, it is not really. It's really food and drink. But at least it's a machlokas about it. But I think we pass can it's at least whatever, because it says what it say. It says v'achalta v'savota uvirachta, right? And you will eat and you will be satisfied, and you will bless, right? So the Gemara darshans v'achalta, you will eat, v'savarta, you will drink, v'rachta, and then you will bless. In other words, there's no real satisfaction from food, since there's a requirement that you have to bench after being satisfied from food. So there's no real satisfaction from food unless the food is also combined with the drink to chase it down. So dry food, if you, according to, I don't know if I think this is actually accepted halacha. Dry food without drink is only, even if you're satisfied, right? You ate a cow, right? A bread volume of cow. Your benching is still only a derabanan, because you did not took a revis of drink to drink it down. Which brings many shilas. For example, let's say I ate a lot of, I ate a loaf of bread, very satisfied, but I had nothing to drink because there was no drink available. And I benched because I had to bench. Then I come to my office, let's say, right, and I find my water bottle. Now finally I drink my water bottle down. Do I have to bench again? Because now maybe I'm chayav midaraisa, because before I was only benching midarabon. Okay, so these are not such partial questions. Okay, so that's what he's. But again, he seems to be, nobody asked him to put ushasiya seinu in there, right? Right? He could have just said, shenana b'machalenu, when we benefit from our food, we have to bench. That's how I would have written it. He decides to point out that it's a combination. Machalenu ushasiya seinu. Okay, fine. V'nachzir adover ala tachlis ha'amiti shaloi. So according to him, when we bench, what do? We v'nachzir hadover, we return the matter to its true purpose. Okay, ad shenimtza bekulam is gadol kvodo yisborach. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. That it should be a support for the true purpose that we mentioned. Ad shenimtza bekulam is gadol kvodo yisborach. That, and what's the purpose? That through everything, Hashem's honor should be uplifted. That His will was done and His plan was fulfilled. Right? And that's the general purpose of Birkas Hamazon. Okay? And the same thing for all other blessings that are after Hana. So now if you ask me the brachas that are before food, right? Yeah. The brachas that are before food, I would say, you're right. The brachas that are before food, the purpose is, before I take this apple, I should remind myself, why am I eating this apple? To be healthy. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to do avodas Hashem. Right? But the bracha that you do after food, Birkas Hamazon, I would say that's not nothing to do with this idea. Birkas Hamazon is a separate avodah. How can I eat without thanking Hashem for my food? I mean, what are we talking about? Right? I ate. I thank Hashem. No, is thanking it. What, there's no reason to thank Hashem if not for the purpose of transforming the food that I just ate into a spiritual activity, right? And if that's so, then really, meaning there's a discussion, right? Why is it only that blessings before food is derabon? Meaning, why is blessing only after food is deraisa, right? If you're telling me that the whole purpose of blessing is to uplift whatever I'm doing to its spiritual source, right? So then before would be more appropriate, no? I'm about to eat this food. I'm about to make it physical. I mean, why are you telling me after the fact? I forgot about this avodas Hashem. I saw a steak. I salivated. I enjoyed the steak. Now you're telling me I have to bench, right? Oh man, I should have had in mind that I was doing this for Hashem, right? It's too late now. Why am I doing this Birkas Hamazon only after food? Like he says, v'nachzir hadover latachlis. We will return the thing to its tachlis. Why return it? Set it up before. You don't return it.
Yeah, well, that's covered by Yaakov and Esav for the blessing.
The what?
like I said, let me eat, I'll be happy, and then I'll be able to bless you. So obviously, it brings you in a good mood, then you can do it. When you're hungry, you're not going to be in a good mood to do it
But
properly.
who said? I'm saying, who says you have to be in a good mood? You have to do the right thing. So if you're telling me that the whole purpose of benching, like I thought until now,
No.
was to show appreciation for food,
so one
it's
thing-
its own. It's not a thing that teaches me to bring my food to avoid that. It is its own avoid.
Yeah, but one thing you have to. That's the one you actually feel good. You want to. You just that was great. Thank you.
I understand
So
what
the
you're saying,
way
but the
was-
way he's setting it up now, I think the have to is more important than you want to. If you ask me, this is the tachlis of creation, to bring the whole physical creation into something spiritual. So why are we first setting you for a fail and then telling you afterwards we're gonna nachzir hadavar? Well, you know what? Let's do tshuva. It's like almost like every time I bench, I'm doing tshuva on the thing that I ate. You know, it's like I did such a physical activity. Let me do penance. You know, let me. It's like it seems to be messed up.
Bracha first beforehand to kind of set you into of a popular thing, this entire state.
Right.
But then the steak is so good.
No, one
by the
second.
time
Once
you
I'm not saying that there is no purpose for benching afterwards, but the benching the blessings before are only midirabanan.
Mm-hmm.
The Torah did not set up the blessings before.
Okay.
I'm saying according to his description of it, the Torah should have set up the blessings before. Why did they leave it for the rabbis to set this up? It seems works much better for this purpose to have it before.
It was easier. Easier is after.
Easier is after. So okay.
Okay.
Torah doesn't always give us the easy way out.
Well, it's now you might do it with my purpose. This one, it's like mitzvah tzitzis. It's a very easy mitzvah. At one point, just easy mitzvah. So sometimes it's just given just because it's
But then
easier.
you
But
can-
other one you may fail, you may pass. So you have to work on yourself, work whatever. This one is just easier.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
So
I'm
maybe
not
you can
fully
walk away
fascinated.
with
It's an easy way out.
without that requirement, with just the taste of food in your mouth. All your kavanas, they had intentional and we used the spiritual, and the steak was not even on the grill yet, and you were concentrating on going to do the right thing. Maybe all this stuff is just going to get forgotten. You saw the steak, and your physical self prevailed. Now that you've eaten the steak, well, did the first initial bracha really make the change in you? That really, now did you achieve that purpose, or did you undo all your kavanas by jumping to that steak with your hands?
Well, I like that. That sounds like very good. I think that's a good
So
shot.
now,
Meaning it's easy to be spiritual with your food before you actually bit down into your food.
But now,
When it's all like in theory, okay, this steak is going to be for Hashem. Okay, that's pretty easy. But when it's in there and your stomach is full and v'achalta v'savota and you were actually satisfied and you're already like fully deep into your olam hazeh,
then you drink.
then you have to be
wine,
like,
and
oh.
What is it? Why did we really do this? Oh, God, okay, we have kavanas.
So you have to meaning it's almost like you have to kind of appreciate olam hazeh before you can you can really uplift it to
It has to be balanced too.
right. Interesting. Maybe that's the shot. Okay. All right. So let's continue. Okay, that works at least. I think it works. So and that explains also why it's specific emphasis on the savota, why you have to actually be satiated with the raisa, in order, because you really have to take that olam haba with all of its olam, take that olam haza with all of its olam haziness, and to uplift it. Okay, accept. Vulam, and so he elaborates on the thing that he said before. Vulam oid haisifu hachachamenu, right? He's not explaining the additional brachas that the rabbis instituted. Lezechronim lebracha, lesakin bracha is koydem hano, that we should also have brachas before the pleasure. Lahagdil zeha inyan, in order to increase this idea. V'hu shegam koydem sheyishtamesh odem min ha'olam that even before a person uses from this world, benefits from this world, Yazkir Shmo Yisbarach Alav, he should mention Hashem's name over it, and he should bless it. V'yiskavein, and he should have kavanah shemimenu Yisbarach bo lo hatoivahu, that this thing is coming from Hashem. V'yiskavein ba'amitas hatoivahu, and he should also have kavanah for the truth of this good. She'ein yayin gufni, that it's not a physical thing, and it's only a physical pleasure. That's a thing that's prepared from Hashem, that it should be, that what is the consequence of it for the toiv ha'amiti k'moshe zachar. Right? So when I see this apple, I realize before I'm about to make bar pri ha'etz, that this apple is given to Hashem as a stepping stone for the final purpose, right? This apple is not just an apple. Every apple becomes a specific, ingredient in the final recipe. And when a person says a bracha before the action, right? Then this action will remain. Interestingly, it says over here, remain again. Yeshoyer hamaysahu lekula l'tzad hatoiv, for the tzad hatoiv, v'loy l'tzad hara, and not for the side of good. So before I darshaned that remaining is only applicable to the tzad hara, because these things are by definition evil. Over here, it's clear not that I was probably wrong, because over here it says that it will remain l'tzad hatoiv, will remain for the good. I don't understand, at least. I don't understand how it could remain l'tzad hatoiv. How could it remain l'tzad hatoiv? How could it remain l'tzad hatoiv? Okay, I don't know. V'yisuken by ha'odom v'yisal, and the person will be rectified and will be uplifted, v'lo yiskalkel v'yushpal, and will not be destroyed and diminished. K'moshe zachar. Okay, good. Any questions here? Or we can move on. I mean, there's a lot of going on here in terms of what he said in terms of brachas, right? There is the, you know, there is a what's the word, hakara satoiv aspect of it, and then there is the stepping stone aspect of it. Okay, Gimel. So what about? So that explains Birkas Hananin. That explains Birkas Hananin. That explains Birkas Hamazon. But we have other brachas. What other brachas do we have? We have Birkas HaMitzvahs. So what's up with Birkas HaMitzvahs? So let's see. V'ulam, and however, gam b'maisa mitzvahs tiknu lanu chachamein and zichron l'bracha brachas eila. Even on our mitzvahs actions, which are already, you know, why am I eating matzah on Pesach? It's a mitzvah. Hashem told me to eat matzah on Pesach. I don't technically need a bracha to say that what I'm about to do is a holy act. I'm doing I don't have to transform this thing into a holy act because it is already a holy act. So why do I need a bracha for birchas mitzvahs, right? But so he says lechibuva shel mitzvah. First it's for the preciousness, for the belovedness of the mitzvah, right? For the belovedness of the mitzvah, right? So in other words, you could do the same mitzvah with flavor, right? It could be the same holy act, but it could be done with lots of flavor. It could be done with just, this is what I have to do. This is what I'm doing. So when we make a bracha over a mitzvah, that shows just like we make a bracha over an apple because of we appreciating this apple, right? So we make a bracha over a mitzvah to show that we are appreciating this mitzvah. To thank Hashem that He desired us, and gave us these great opportunities to fix. So as the result of us expressing that appreciation, the act itself is also elevated, right? Because now it's not just it's just a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah, right? And the person is also helped by this, because that is kind of the nature of things, or the measure of things. Kifi hahisoyrus shemisoyrim bnei ha'odam elov is baruch shmoi, that in accordance with our inspiration, that we are inspired and we are driven towards Hashem, Kain yashir ha'ezer she'ozru mimenu, that is also the ezer that they will get from him, right? That's also to the degree that we, it doesn't translate it that way, but right, the more motivation we have for a mitzvah, the more help from Hashem we get in a kind of in being elevated by this mitzvah, right? Meaning, in other words, it seems like, right, in the process of mitzvah, if the mitzvah is an elevation, right, we are elevating ourselves. We are putting on tefillin and we are elevating ourselves. But not only, because as we are elevating ourselves, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is also pulling us up. So the more we are inspired by the mitzvah, the more HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows this mitzvah to pull us up. Okay, im me'at me'harba, whether a little or whether a lot, b'chol poyel sheyu kifi mashahu, whatever action that may be. Uboiteach ba'Hashem, and whatever trust in Hashem, Ashrav, he is praiseworthy. Okay, tam v'nishlam shavach l'kel barei olam. Okay, Mazel Tov. We've completed the Derech HaShem. Okay, so brachas is the end. So getting back to what we mentioned last time, is right, brachas is the first Masechta in Shas, right? Brachas is the first Masechta in Shas. Now, right, if you look just in the Seder Zroim, right, it's very, very fascinating Seder. What's the Seder Zroim? Right? What's the Masechta after Brachas? We have Peah.
Yeah.
What's after Peah? The Mai. I don't remember the other ones. Let's get Mishnah. But after the Mai, we have Mai, I believe.
Makes sense.
After the Mai, we have Kilayim. After Kilayim, I think we have Shvis. And then we have Truma, Meiser, Truma, a whole bunch of different Meisers there. So let's see. So brach, right? So brachas, Peah, Demai, Kilayim, Shvis. That's the first part. And the second part is Truma, Meiser, Sheni, Chala, Orla, Bikurim. Okay? Good? So how would you organize? If you were organizing these Mesechtot, how would you organize? So before you answer that question, there's really one theory, which is pretty consistent, that really there is no thematic organization to Mishnayos. Very simply, if you look, you will see that the amount of chapters, it goes in the descending order by the amount of chapters. Okay? So like the first Masechta will have lots of chapters, and then each additional Masechta will have less and less and less chapters. Except maybe in Taharis, maybe there's one exception or something like that. But basically, that it's grouped by the descending of chapters.
This is within the Seder.
Within the Seder, right. So it could be that, that's true as well, but I do believe that there is also a thematic sequence. Okay, so now, for example, so brachas should be the last in the Seder Hadvarim, because if this is the Seder Zroim is about the food and all, right, it starts with the field, should first be the laws of the field. Like Peah is a law before you cut, right? It's what you should not cut, right? Trumas, Meiser Sheni is the things that you're supposed to do to the grain once you cut it, right? So that should be later. Kilayim really should be the first Masechta. Kilayim probably should be the first Masechta. I'm not even sure if Peah should be the first Masechta. Kilayim should be the first Masechta, because Kilayim is when you're planting. When you're planting, you got to plant in a certain way. Shvius should probably be the next Masechta, because Shvius is also what you have to do. You have to let your field stay fallow, right, for a year. Shvius is with Shemitah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Shemitah. These are things that have to do with the field. Then I would probably put Peah, because Peah is now when you're cutting down. Okay, once you cut down, you put Truma, Meiser, Meiser Sheni. Okay, then I would probably put Demai, would be the last after that, because Demai is Safek Meiser, Safek Truma, right? So that should be after you discuss the real laws of Truma and Meiser. You should put Demai. Okay, then I would put Chala, because Chala is after you make now that you cut it down, then you make it into a dough. Then you put Chala. Then you got to go back to something called Orla. Orla is, so till now we're talking about a field. Now we're going to talk about the garden, right? We should put Orla because that's the laws of the garden. Then Bikurim, that's first fruit when you take down the garden. And then finally you should have Brachos, because after you've planted and you've harvested and you gave your Trumas and your Meisers, you finally can take a bite and you should make a bracha over it. So bracha should be the last in this order of field planting, harvest, planting, field, harvest, meiser, dough, brachas, right? But instead we have bikurim as the first fruit is the last. Brachas, which is the last, should be the first, right? And not coincidentally also, I think, that bikurim is, the shorish of bikurim is beis chaf reish, right? Beis chaf reish, and the shorish of brachas is beis reish chaf, right? So you have the beginning beis reish chaf, and the end is beis chaf reish, right? So why is brachas first?
That's your
right, because what's the point of planting, growing, and whatever? The whole point is to bless it, right? To thank Hashem, right? Because of what he was saying, that everything that you're doing, all of those steps, 10 steps. How many sections we have here? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 steps. So brachas will be after 10 steps, right? So after 10 steps, you can get to the bracha of saying, this was all for some spiritual purpose, right? So brachas comes in the beginning to show this. Do I understand all the other orders? I'm not sure if I have clear all the others. Like why the my is before Truma Meiser.
to know what to do.
What? But first you got to explain Truma. The Mai is a Safek Truma Meiser. Why, first talk about the regular Trumas and Meisers, then you talk about the Mai. Right. Okay, I had at one point I did have a shot for all of this. For some reason I don't remember it now. I should always write things down, but okay. Anyway, so one more thing that I think is not explained is what about Birchas HaTorah? Does he mention it at all?
Don't think so.
I mean, definitely not in this chapter, right? Definitely not in this chapter. Birchas HaTorah is deraisa, according to the Gemara and Brachas. Birchas HaTorah is deraisa, and there's a whole discussion. Why is Birchas HaTorah, which is for the spiritual food, the blessing is before, right? Mashenkein, the physical food, the blessing is after, right?
Because you should be never satisfied, you should keep going.
Right. Meaning there's no such thing as after.
Yeah.
So for physical food, you say before.
Midaraisa, right? Birchas HaTorah is midaraisa,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So where does Birchas HaTorah fit into this? Is it also the same idea of chibuva shel mitzvah? Like why doesn't he address it? Like it bothers me that he doesn't speak about it. Not in this chapter. I don't think he speaks about it. Does he speak about it when he talks about learning Torah? I don't think so. The Talmud Torah. I don't think so. don't think so.
I don't recall him mentioning that.
What?
I don't recall him mentioning
Right.
that.
So that seems like an omission.
Mhm.
That seems like an omission. Like it's like, you know, it's an important mitzvah that should be. It's a daily mitzvah, right? So it's a daily mitzvah, and it should really belong. So where is Birchas HaTorah going? Is it the mikriyos and a circumstantial, like the other brachas, or is it really in your daily avodah? Right? It really belongs in the daily avodah. Right? It talks about washing hands, tzitzis, tefillin. Right? And then he talks about the Dalit Chelkei Tefillah. He does not talk about Birchas HaTorah in the daily avodah either. So where is Birchas HaTorah in this picture? Is it a daily avodah? I mean, it's clearly a daily avodah.
Right.
No, you're saying it's absolutely necessary mark. Chapter 4.
Where?
Chapter 4, Olive.
What a page.
Different pages.
It's in 243.
Yeah, but my, I don't know the pages.
Yeah, the Torah is absolutely necessary matter. Yeah. Right. But what about Birchas HaTorah? Right. I mean, right. Because Gemara says, why was the world destroyed? And why was the Beis Hamikdash destroyed? Right. Because they shelabaruchu b'Torah tchila. Because they did not make a bracha before learning Torah. Right. So okay, that's a Torah chiyuv. Open question. Okay.
Yeshua.
Okay, shkoyach.